Spartacus had just endured a life-and-death battle, only to be met not with applause but with ridicule from the entire city. On his highly anticipated debut, he ignored all warnings and challenged the champion, Crixus, only to be effortlessly defeated and become the laughingstock of all Capua. This left Batiatus, who had hoped to ride Spartacus's fame to glory, utterly humiliated. He looked down at Spartacus, his eyes filled with disappointment and fury.
Do you think me a fool?
No, Dominus.
An agreement reached, an oath sworn.
The two had once made a deal. If Spartacus followed the rules, obeyed orders, and won glory, Batiatus would help him find his lost wife, Sura. But now, Spartacus's impulsiveness and recklessness had ruined everything. Spartacus struggled to admit his mistake, but Batiatus told him he had squandered a golden opportunity. Before facing Crixus, Spartacus had already earned immense respect from the crowd by defeating 4 of Salonius's gladiators. Now, all of that was gone. Worse, this blunder might have cost him his last chance to reunite with his wife. At the mention of his wife, Spartacus tensed. He begged Batiatus to continue the search, but his master only mocked him, asking what a worthless slave could offer to pay for the search. Spartacus said he was willing to keep fighting in the arena and use his prize money to pay, but Batiatus mocked him mercilessly. "No one wants to watch you fight anymore." As Batiatus walked away, Spartacus sank into despair. Just as he thought all hope was lost, Batiatus returned and offered him one last chance.
In a place where you needn't follow rules because none exist.
The underground fighting pits. There were no rules, only life and death. If he survived, he could earn a fortune, and perhaps, just perhaps, win back the chance to see his wife again. Before Spartacus could react, he was knocked to the ground, and the token representing his wife was snatched away. Batiatus warned him that in the underground pits he could lose it, and his arm, at any moment. Meanwhile, Oenomaus, the training master, rushed to stop Batiatus. He called the underground pits a soulless hellhole, and said sending Spartacus there would dishonor the family name. But Batiatus, blinded by greed, ignored all warnings. Elsewhere, Batiatus's wife, Lucretia, discussed the household finances with him. Among the new gladiators, only Varro showed potential, while Spartacus and Curza were worthless in the arena. Batiatus decided to send both to the underground pits that very night to earn some quick money. Lucretia was relieved to be rid of Spartacus, but she worried that her husband's involvement in such a place would tarnish his reputation, or worse, cost him his life. Batiatus, however, was confident. He ordered his bodyguard Barca to accompany him and instructed Lucretia to arrange a woman for Crixus as a reward for his victory, hoping to motivate the other gladiators. Soon, Spartacus was dragged into this bloody underworld. His friend Varro asked where he was going, only to be told, "To where I belong." Curza, sent with Spartacus, still fantasized about making a name for himself there. But reality struck hard. The gladiators in the pits were brutal, attacking to kill. Before Curza could react, a hulking man crushed his skull with an iron hammer, gouging out his eyes in front of everyone. Spartacus was horrified by the sight. Batiatus, meanwhile, ran into trouble. His creditor, Ovidius, confronted him. Batiatus tried to brush him off, but Ovidius saw through the act, leaving with a threat. Interest will be charged. Humiliated, Batiatus vowed to make him pay. In the pit, a madman named Ixion had just slaughtered an opponent, holding up a bloody scalp and taunting the crowd to challenge him. Batiatus watched as Spartacus entered the arena, silently praying. He had bet everything on him. Meanwhile, Champion Crixus questions Lucretia's maid, Naevia, about why she isn't wearing the necklace he gave her. Naevia, terrified, returned it, explaining that as a slave she couldn't accept gifts. If Lucretia found out, the consequences would be dire. Crixus left in frustration, but Lucretia had seen everything. As a reward for his victory, she offered herself to Crixus for the night. When she saw the necklace in his hand, she didn't scold him. Instead, she ordered him to put it on her, using it to taunt and control the powerful gladiator. Naevia could only watch in agony as her beloved was intimate with her mistress. In the underground pit, the bloody battle began. The host roared, whipping the crowd into a frenzy. Spartacus and his first opponent Myrmex entered the arena. The crowd booed Spartacus, remembering his earlier defeat. By the rules, they had to choose their own weapons. Myrmex picked the aggressive steel-spiked gauntlets, while Spartacus took the more defensive copper-ringed gauntlets. Seeing this, Batiatus immediately placed a heavy bet on Spartacus. The fight began with Myrmex attacking fiercely, driving Spartacus back. Just as it seemed Spartacus was about to lose, he exploded into action. Seizing an opening, he tackled Myrmex to the ground and smashed his copper gauntlet into his opponent's skull, blood spraying everywhere. Spartacus killed his opponent, winning his first victory. Thrilled by the win, Batiatus decided to let Spartacus rest briefly before fighting again. Late at night, Lucretia stared at the piles of money her husband had brought back, tempted by the huge profits of the underground pits. But she also feared losing everything, and if Batiatus died without an heir, she would be forced to remarry. Batiatus reassured her, promising that once Spartacus fought a few more battles, they would have enough to break free from their debts. Back at the training grounds, Spartacus faced scorn from the other gladiators, who called him a stray dog for fighting in the pits and cursed him to die like Curzon. Spartacus began to doubt himself, feeling he was no longer a true gladiator. Varro comforted him, saying the pits could twist any man's soul. He had seen fighters turn into beasts there, losing all sense of right and wrong. The next day, Lucretia, desperate for money, secretly sold her jade necklace behind her husband's back, only to be swindled by a merchant who paid her half its worth. To make matters worse, they ran into Batiatus's rival, Salonius, who not only flirted with Lucretia, but exposed Batiatus's secret involvement in the underground pits, humiliating her in public. At the training grounds, Oenomaus used Spartacus as a warning to the other gladiators. Recklessness would get them sent to the pits to fend for themselves. During lunch, Asher, a lame gladiator, deliberately brought up the necklace in front of Crixus, only to be warned to mind his own business. Barca, Crixus's friend, guessed the necklace was meant for Naevia, and warned Crixus to stay away from the maid if he valued his life. As night fell again, Spartacus was thrown back into the blood-soaked pit. This time, he fought like a heartless killing machine, defeating one powerful opponent after another, each time slaughtering them mercilessly. His winning streak made everyone believe he was invincible. But Batiatus saw the truth. Spartacus fought without fear of death because he was living for someone else. Meanwhile, Naevia, consumed by jealousy, confronted Crixus, demanding to know why he had given the necklace meant for her to Lucretia. Crixus, confused by the complexities of women's rivalry, had no answer.
You think only with your sword and your shield, you stupid lumbering...
After endless battles, Spartacus's body and mind were pushed to the brink. In a hallucination, he saw his wife Sura again. This vision fueled him to endure the hellish ordeal. Varro, seeing his friend's condition, brought him pain-killing herbs, but Spartacus refused. He needed to stay sharp to save his love. At the villa, Batiatus and Lucretia argued over money. Batiatus decided not to repay Ovidius, the creditor, as revenge for the earlier humiliation. Lucretia was horrified that her husband would offend the cousin of a magistrate. When Batiatus discovered she had sold her jade necklace behind his back, he flew into a rage, feeling she had embarrassed him in front of Salonius. Both knew their only hope now rested on the exhausted Thracian. On the eve of the final battle, Spartacus dreamed of his wife being swallowed by a storm and flood.
I will always be with you, even in death. The rains are coming. Save me.
He woke in terror, realizing he had to save her before the storm arrived. He proposed a desperate deal to Batiatus. He knew his odds were high, so he asked Batiatus to bet everything on him, and in return, he would throw the fight and die in the arena. In exchange, Batiatus had to swear on his honor to continue searching for Sura after Spartacus's death. Faced with the chance to erase all their debts, Batiatus agreed without hesitation. The final battle began. Spartacus's opponent was the same unstoppable madman, Ixion.
Spartacus!
Ixion chose a battle axe, while Spartacus, determined to die, picked a curved blade. The fight was brutal. Spartacus abandoned all defense, letting Ixion hack at him. Bloodied and near collapse, he remained standing through sheer willpower. Just as Ixion prepared the final blow, the unexpected happened. A group of assassins stormed the arena, targeting Batiatus. Barca is fighting an assassin, and Batiatus's life is in grave danger. At the last moment, Spartacus swiftly dispatched his opponent, hurling his battle axe to kill the assassin. Batiatus, examining the corpse, realized the attackers were mere slaves. Furious, he vowed to make whoever sent them pay. Back at the villa, a shaken Lucretia demanded to know who wanted her husband dead. But Batiatus was more concerned with their losses. Spartacus's survival had cost them everything. Lucretia, overwhelmed, lashed out at Spartacus, but Batiatus reminded her that without Spartacus he would be dead. Late that night, Batiatus summoned Spartacus. He admitted the logical thing would be to kill him now to eliminate the threat. Spartacus reminded him of his promise to find Sura. Batiatus smirked, saying the promise was contingent on Spartacus dying in the pits, but Spartacus countered with a sharp retort. In the end, Batiatus made his decision. Because Spartacus had saved his life, he would honor his debt. He vowed to continue searching for Sura, and once Spartacus recovered, would restore him to the gladiator ranks. Spartacus had bought himself a temporary reprieve and his master's promise with his actions. But would Batiatus keep his word? And how would he face the enemies and debts closing in from all sides?